Hey everybody, we are back. It's another episode of The Breakdown on the LoudMouth MMA Podcast Network. How's everybody doing today? This is Max Friedman, co-host, also known as Trademark MMA of both Cage Side Press and the Body Lock. I'm joined by my amazing co-host, all the way in Holland, MMA DNA's Big Marcel Dorff. What's up, Big Marcel? How's your Tuesday treating you?
Yeah, pretty well, man. How are you doing? Great to be back, man. Look forward to the breakdown. Yeah, always fun to do this with you.
Always fun to talk fights, and what we'll be looking at today is the UFC's premier event on ESPN. That is UFC Phoenix coming at you this Sunday, February 17th, 2019, from the Talking Stick Resort Arena in Phoenix, Arizona. Other shows you can find on the MMA Loudmouth MMA Network include the Not Safe for Work MMA show. That's Fred Kirby and Kyle Steele. Fred is something else, man. If you guys haven't checked that out, he is a really fun personality to follow. MMA yesterday, looking at UFC events of years past, the DFS Express for all you daily fantasy users out there. Interviews fight companions, and my personal favorite, besides us, of course, Around the Cage, the MMA version of ESPN's Around the Horn, hosted by the great Davidson Baker of Fansided MMA. A really fun show. Both Marcel and myself have been featured on the show before, so definitely point everyone to follow Loudmouth MMA Network on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube, SoundCloud, whatever podcast medium you prefer, and check out some of the other great content from all the contributors out there. Big Marcel, you ready to get into this?
Yeah, sure, man. Always.
Well, we don't only talk about fights here on the breakdown, but we also track and keep our picks. So we have our standings for the year starting out in 2019. Myself, I have 26-12 overall. My illustrious co-host from Holland is 22-16. We're both coming off 9-2 weeks from UFC 234. Some big upset wins and some pretty solid picks across the board there. We do also track bonuses throughout the year, so we both have 4. And then in underdogs, we pick one underdog each week we think is going to get the job done. I was able to have one on the board from UFC Fortaleza with Thiago Alves, albeit controversial or not. Big Marcel still looking for that first underdog pick on the year. He's got that look. He's ready to determine he's going to get it this week. Let's get into things. We kick things off on the UFC Fight Pass prelims. Getting started in the UFC strawweight division, Alexandra Stitch Albu taking on Emily Whitmire. Albu, a minus 190 favorite. Comeback on Vegas's Whitmire is plus 165. Alex Albu, 2-0 in the UFC. Granted, her UFC career has lasted 4 years now, so that's 2 fights in 4 years. Whitmire is 1-1 in the UFC. Got on the board against Jamie Moyle late last year. A Vegas-based fighter. It looks like she's far improved since her time on The Ultimate Fighter. Kind of surprised to see this line open up the way it did. Big Marcel, how do you see this one going?
Man, actually, Albu has already signed 6 years with the UFC. That makes it even more crazy.
6 years. Holy cow.
Yeah, she was supposed to fight Julie Katzi in 2013, but that didn't went through, and then she debuted in 2015 in Poland. So, yeah, for some reason, the UFC has her listed as 7 or 8-0, but she's 3-0, as many record sites show. I can't say I haven't been very impressed by her. She did well. Her last fight was against Kaylin Curran, 2017. I think it was a close fight. Emily Whitmire, I have a feeling she has faced some tough opponents, like she got actually a winner for Emily Ducote, who was a Bellator title challenger, which is a pretty big name to have on your record at the how do you say that, at the stage she is right now. She won Jamie Moyle in 2018, coming off that loss against against Gillian Robertson. I'm taking Emily Whitmire in this fight. I really feel she has all put it together. She looked very good in the last fight, and taking her by unanimous decision after 3 rounds.
Yeah, I think Whitmire uses her more diverse striking, just like she did against Jamie Moyle. Picks up the unanimous decision victory. A little surprised, like I mentioned, to see that betting line open up the way it did. I thought based on that last fight, Whitmire would be the favorite. Nonetheless, we move along. We got a fight in the men's bantamweight division. The former UFC bantamweight champion Renan Barão takes on cool hand Luke Sanders. Do we have a loser leaves town matchup here, Big Marcel?
Yeah, I think so. Definitely, man. I think so.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah. Yeah, it really seems like it. I mean, Renan Barão has lost 3 straight. He's lost 5 of 6, and that lone win was a split decision victory over Felipe Nova in 2016. Sanders, meanwhile, 2-3 in the UFC, but 1-3 in his last 4, coming off a submission loss to Hani Yahya. I mean, Sanders is a well-rounded guy, but really hasn't been able to put it together in the UFC. Does have a badass girlfriend, though, WWE's Becky Lynch, so props to him on that. Big Marcel, how do you see this one going?
And man, it's a very tough fight to pick because Renan Barão, he hasn't looked at as himself since the TJ Dillashaw lost the first. 3-fight losing skid, like you said. Luke Sanders actually is a very impressive fighter. His only fight where he didn't have a chance was against Hani Yahya, and all these other fights he was like against Yuri Alcantara. He almost finished him in the first round. He was so much better, and then he got caught with that. Was it a knee bar?
Knee bar.
Yeah,
and a fight that should have probably been stopped earlier.
Exactly, I agree. And then against Andre Sukumtat, he was much better fighter in the first round, and then he walked in on a punch, and he got finished there, you know. So Luke Sanders I don't think Luke Sanders isn't that bad as his record looks like in the UFC, and I have to go with him, man. I think Barão isn't going to put it together in the UFC anymore, and it really hurts me because he's one of my favorite fighters, Renan Barão. So I hate to pick against him, but Luke Sanders is going to win this one, and probably by a TKO in the first round, I think.
Wow, big pick here from Marcel, going with cool hand Luke Sanders with a TKO. I agree with everything you've said. Luke Sanders is a really talented fighter, but has not been able to put it together in the UFC, albeit that he has had good performances in some of those losses. But this is going to be the fight where Renan Barão doesn't necessarily get back on track, but he gets that win he's looking for. I'm going to say Barão TKOs Luke Sanders after having a bad first round, and he catches him in the second. Barão via TKO. I know I'm probably very alone in that pick, seeing that Barão's a pretty big betting underdog at plus 170, but we'll see how that goes there. So we have a difference almost right away.
We might have our underdog pick already.
Hey, I didn't say that just yet. All right, moving along to the headliner. Oh, I'm sorry. These are on ESPN Plus. These are not on UFC Fight Pass. My apologies. The headliner of the ESPN Plus prelims, Jessica Penne coming back from suspension, taking on Jodie Esquibel. Penne, like we mentioned, is coming off a nearly 2-year layoff for the Alliance MMA athlete. She is a minus 175 favorite in this one. The comeback on Jackson Winks Esquibel is plus 155. Penne also a 3-fight losing streak, and 2 of those were pretty bad losses if you look at it. Joanna Jędrzejczyk and Jessica Andrade. She's only 1-3 in the UFC overall. That lone win over Miranda Marcos coming in on her UFC debut. Esquibel on the flip side, 0-2 in her UFC career, although the last fight against Jessica Aguilar, razor close. Similar to Luke Sanders with a badass significant other, Jodie Esquibel, longtime girlfriend and lady of Keith Jardine, the Dean Amin, lady of Caveman Coffee Company. Big Marcel, too, another option here with the fighters coming in on losing streaks. Who gets it done?
Yeah, this is another loser leaves town fight, I think. Jessica Penne, she lost to Jessica Andrade and against Joanna Jędrzejczyk. I mean, that can happen, man. But her loss to Daniela Taylor was pretty surprising to me at that moment when it happened. Jodie Esquibel, 2 losses in a row. Very tough debut, and it was kind of short notice because they didn't find anyone to fight Karolina Kowalkiewicz in Poland, and against Aguilar last time out. It's pretty weird that Penny is a favorite here with minus 175. You said.
Yes, my apologies for not reading that. The minus 175 for Penny, comeback one Esquibel is plus 155.
Yeah, that's actually pretty amazing when you're on a 3-fight losing skid and have been coming back from a suspension. But I have to agree here. I think Jessica Penne will win this fight by a very close decision, split or unanimous decision. It will be a very close fight, I think, but I see Jessica Penne winning this one.
Penny has really solid grappling credentials, and she is technical on the feet. It seems like where her kryptonite lies is when someone's far more aggressive and really brings the pace to her, brings the action. And that's the type of fighter Jodie Esquibel is. I agree with you. I think this line should have been much closer. I'm going to take Esquibel via unanimous decision. I think she pushes the pace, pushes the action, gets the better of the striking on the feet, and cruises to the victory. All right, kicking things off on the prelims card, and now I believe these are also on ESPN Plus.
No, ESPN.
Oh, these are also on ESPN. My apologies, man. I two things wrong already. Not my good start to the Tuesday. Scott Hot Sauce Holtzman minus 190 favorite against the veteran Nick the Carney Lentz plus 165 underdog. These are lightweights going at it in here, riding some momentum. But not young lightweights by any stretch of the word. Scott Holtzman. I almost said Trevor Smith, also Hot Sauce, riding a 3-fight winning streak, including that recent TKO victory of Alan Patrick, where he was actually a plus 260 underdog. Meanwhile, Lentz is finished 2 of 3, including Will Brooks and Gray Maynard. He's 34. Which of the veterans get it done here, and do either of these guys make a run towards the bottom half of the rankings in the division?
I mean, Scott Holtzman was so impressive last time out against Alan Patrick, I think. It was at the same event, I think, as Nick Lentz against Gray Maynard, where Nick Lentz head kicked him TKO win. I don't know, man. This is a hard fight to pick, but I think Nick Lentz has probably the advantage on the ground. I think Holtzman on the feet, in my opinion. And I'm going with Holtzman in this one, man. He has that momentum, the 3-fight winning streak. He looked better than ever in that last fight he fought against Alan Patrick. And Nick Lentz, it's hit or miss sometimes with him, but he's always tough. So I'm going with Scott Holtzman, and I'm going with a finish here, man. I think the TKO in the second round. So, yeah, Scott Holtzman, Hot Sauce, going to get it done.
All right. Well, glad to hear that, because now we got another difference. I think the veteran Nick Lentz seems to be putting it together really well since his move to Hard Knocks 365. I think he uses that guillotine choke that he's finished a lot of guys with. Submission round 2 via Nick Lentz. Wow, a lot of differences off to a start here, Big Marcel.
Always good, man. Always good. Let's see what happens, man.
Let's see what happens. Moving along, women's flyweights on deck. Ashley Evans-Smith taking on Andrea KGB Lee. Evans-Smith, a great wrestler, but has struggled in the UFC as of late. I mean, she's coming off a win, but it was after 2 losses. And she does appear to be far stronger at 125 pounds than she was at 135 pounds. Meanwhile, Andrea Lee, 1-0 in the UFC, but a 5-fight winning streak overall. She really seems like she's the real deal at 125 pounds. Do you agree, Big Marcel? Do you think she gets it done here?
Yeah, I think definitely Andrea Lee will get this done. I mean, she looked great in her UFC debut against Veronica Macedo. Who, yeah, Veronica Macedo still also doesn't have a win in the UFC, but Andrea looked great, you know, and she's a tough girl with very good skills. I think she's very skilled on the ground. I also like her stand-up a lot. Ashley Evans-Smith, I don't see her cracking the top 10. I think she has been in the top 10 maybe, but I think she's really a fighter between 10 and 15. And I see Andrea Lee, she can make that run in the top 10 and maybe going to the top right now in the 125 division. So I think Andrea Lee will win this fight, probably by decision, but it will be pretty dominant, I think. And so you will go with Ashley Evans-Smith.
Not quite on this one. I agree with you. KGB Lee seems to be a real up-and-coming talent in that division, one that was high-profile UFC signing. She gets it done, unanimous decision there. Men's bantamweights on deck, and this is a sleeper for fight of the night here. Manny Bermudez taking on Benito Lopez. And Big Marcel, I will let you kick things off here.
Man, Manny Bermudez. What can you say about him, man? He's from the East Coast guy, I think. He fought a lot in the East Coast. 2 impressive wins in the UFC against Albert Morales, Davey Grant in 2018, the Benito Lopez fight, which actually was scheduled to take place in UFC 233, but that event got cancelled. Yeah, who doesn't know that picture with Bermudez where he's winning and you see him sitting like this in the camera looking, you know exactly what picture I mean. And the guy is such a raw talent, man. Benito Lopez, same, very raw talent as well. His fight against Ricky Simone didn't went through last time. That was a pity for me because I was really looking forward to this fight. Only a second fight right now in the UFC. But yeah, still undefeated. Wins over Albert Morales in his debut against a very tough guy in Steven Peterson, who also is now in the UFC at the Dynamite Contender Series. Man, this is such a difficult fight to pick, and this is also I already will give this away, and you did it as well. This is my pick for fight of the night. This is one of the fights I'm looking forward to on this card, and man, Manny Bermudez, he's so good on the ground. I'm going with him, and only because of that, because I think it's a very competitive, even fight, and it will go to by decision. I don't think Bermudez will finish him or Lopez will finish Bermudez, but a decision, a very good decision, a very fun decision with a split decision win for Manny Bermudez.
Yeah, you're a far more technical, more analytical guy when it comes to breaking down the actual fighter's ability, but Manny Bermudez seems like a top 10 talent in my opinion. I mean, he's 13-0, 10 wins by submission, like you said, 2-0 in the UFC and still only 24. Benito Lopez, really entertaining striker, team alpha male guy. You know he's going to be well trained at 9-0, but out of action since December of 2017. Lopez could have a clear advantage on the feet, but if it hits the ground, I think Bermudez finds the finish, and I'm going to go with actually an armbar. In the second round, Manny Bermudez gets the submission there. But man, what a fun fight. Kind of disappointed to see those two matched up, but nonetheless, we should have a fun one in Phoenix.
Definitely, man. Definitely.
We stay at 135 pounds for the featured prelim on ESPN. Jimmy Rivera taking on Aljo Sterling, the Funk Master. And man, really fun matchup here as well. Rivera coming off that knockout loss to Marlon Moraes, actually, no, he's coming off a win over John Dodson. That's correct. One removed from his loss to Marlon Moraes. Sterling coming off back-to-back wins over Brett Johns and then that real nasty Suloev stretch victory over Cody Stamann. People seem to be undervaluing Sterling here. He's a plus 175 underdog. Rivera, a minus 210 favorite, pretty sizable for those so close in the rankings. And Sterling could very easily, get Jimmy Rivera down and out-grapple him here. But for me, it seems like he might struggle to do so on the feet. The way Rivera mixes in his kicks, mixes in his punches, really well-rounded skill set coming out of Team Tiger Schulman's. Which way do you see this one going?
Man, at first I want to say this is a 5 years in the making. East Coast of the MMA scene. Jimmy Rivera out of New Jersey, Aljamain Sterling out of New York. As a fan, I hate this fight because I don't want to see anyone lose in this one. But yeah, very intriguing matchup. Sterling, we all know his jiu-jitsu is very good. He's a student of Matt Serra, trains at the Law MMA, Ray Longo, Sarah BJJ. Long Island guy, very well-rounded, skilled. He's getting better in the standing up also every fight, I think. Jimmy Rivera, I think Jimmy Rivera is a very solid fighter. He doesn't, I don't think he's good in something really good. He doesn't have a specialty in something, but he is good overall. He can go to the ground, he can stand up. You saw that in different opponents he beat. Um, it's hard, man. I mean, if it goes to a finish, then I prefer Aljamain Sterling by submission, probably. If it goes to the decision, I'm going with Jimmy Rivera. Very close fight, split decision win for Jimmy Rivera. And probably by being what you said, too good with his jab, probably staying on the outside, don't give Sterling the chance to shoot. And yeah, I have to go with Jimmy Rivera here, but very close fight. And I did, for example, on my Twitter, I did a poll about who's going to win this fight. Jimmy Rivera, Aljamain Sterling. Over 300 people have voted or something.
What
And
did
it's
people
like,
have to say?
Sorry?
What did the people have to say? Who did they go with?
51-49 for Rivera.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That's how it goes to show you really good fight booking here.
Exactly.
It's really hard to pick against Jimmy Rivera the way he mixes it up on the feet. I think he gets a split decision victory as well. But hey, don't be surprised if Aljo Sterling wins this fight. I mean, the guy is absolutely undoubtedly one of the top bantamweights in the world.
I also don't agree with the line that it's so how do you say, not that close as we expected. Could be a pick 'em fight, actually, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. Moving along, kicking off the main card on ESPN, Andre Touchy-Fili taking on Miles Jury, a -200 favorite against Fili, the +170 underdog. Another tough fight to call that seems to be a little bit closer than the line suggests. Revitalizing the rivalry between the Alliance MMA and Team Alpha Male, dating back to the Dominic Cruz-Uriah Faber days. And for Miles Jury, this is actually his third straight fight against the Team Alpha Male competitor. Rick Glenn, Chad Mendez, now Andre Fili. Miles Jury, kind of similar type of fighter where he seems to beat fighters that on paper are ranked below him, but tends to lose those really big challenges. The same can be said for Fili. But Fili, really aggressive style, very confident in there, and tends to win the fights that he should. I've had a hard time, and I've gone back and forth with this one. Big Marcel, how do you see this one playing out?
It's also a very close fight again. Getting boring with saying that, I'm sorry. But yeah, I mean, Andre Fili, he lost his last fight where I think he won, but he won a fight against Dennis Bermuda, which I think he lost. Both split decisions. Artem Lobov a win in 2017 and a loss to Calvin Kattar. So he's 2-2 in his last four
to Michael
fights.
Johnson too, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think he actually won that fight, in my opinion, and he lost to Dennis Bermudez, but he got the win against Bermudez and the loss against Johnson. So, just my opinion, right? Like you said, Miles Jury, he's losing the big fights where he should get up in ranking, and that's the thing, man. Those guys are very close against the ranking. It's like 15-20, right there, are they? I have to go with a gut feeling here. I think Andre Fili will take this one. But again, a very close fight. So many close fights on this card that it's getting boring that I say that all the time. But it is what it is, man. I mean, going here with Andre Fili, split decision by being too good on the ground, probably.
This is a really tough fight to call. Could go either way. Wouldn't be surprised if it does end up with Andre Fili, but I just have a feeling Miles Jury is going to fight more intelligent and just whether it's getting that late takedown or throwing a flurry of kicks right before the bell, really more intelligent style fighting to get the nod on the judges' scorecards. He walks away with the decision, so we have another difference here, but man, razor close fights here. Really hard to pick, and that keeps going. That seems to be the trend here, especially with this next fight that has a much larger line. And this is a fight broken to the masses by our very own Marcel Dorff of MMA DNA. This is Vicente Luque taking on Brian Bam Bam Barberena. And considering you were the one that broke this fight to the public, Big Marcel, I will start with you and let you take charge on this one.
Yeah, man, I think it's a great fight. Actually, first slated for Fortaleza, now in Phoenix. So, yeah, what can you say? I mean, Vicente Luque, he's 7-1 in his last 8 fights. Only lost to Leon Edwards by decision in London. Bam Bam, Brian Barberena. Look also good in his fights. Also has a loss to Leon Edwards, also by decision in Rotterdam, was live there. And against Colby Covington, who is arguably one of the best in the division. So what's the line, actually? I think Luque is the favorite right here.
Luque is the favorite at a whopping -350. Real heavy on him. Brian Barberena, a +290 underdog. And, man, the hardcores like yourself and I, we know that line should be way closer than it is.
Definitely, man. I think Luque has the and that's not a bad thing to say, the hype behind him, I think fully deserved. You know, he looked great against Nico Price, man. Jalen Turner, I didn't like that matchup at all, but he looked great in that one as well, I think. Brian Barberena, Jake Ellenberger win. He defeated both Ellenberger brothers. So, oh man, it's such a difficult fight. I think it goes to a decision, not to a finish, like many people think, because Brian Barberena is very hard to finish, and Luque the same. So probably a decision. And man, let me call the upset here. Split decision, Brian Barberena in Phoenix. Let me call this. We're going with the upset right here.
Underdog alert coming alive. And before I even get into my look on the fight, I want to encourage everyone to check out the interview that my co-host Big Marcel did with Brian Barberena on MMA DNA. A really good, thorough interview talking about his training camp switch, really about his mindset, about some of the things he likes to do outside the cage. Really fun listen. So everyone, make sure to check that out on MMA DNA. This is a sleeper for fight of the night here as well. And Brian Barberena, real tough cat. Hard to finish, like you said. His only welterweight losses being to Colby Covington and Leon Edwards. But how the heck is Vicente Luque not ranked? The guy's 7-1 in his last 8, and he has 3 straight finishes. I mean, what does he have to do to get ranked or get a ranked opponent? But I agree with you. Barberena hasn't been finished, and Luque seems to be only finishing his opponents. But nonetheless, this fight does go to a decision, but Vicente Luque takes it via unanimous decision. But really close fight on paper. Could be fight in the night. Could be back and forth action. Pay attention to that one, folks. All right, we got a highly touted UFC debut in our next bout at 145 pounds. Kron Gracie, a -410 favorite in his UFC debut, taking on Bruce Leroy. Alex Caceres, a +335 underdog. This will be his 20th UFC appearance. So the veteran not getting the love on the Vegas lines here. 9-9 and 1 no contest overall for Caceres. Gracie, meanwhile, has that elite level Brazilian jiu-jitsu. There's no way around it there. He does have big wins in his career. He's beaten Tatsuya Kawajiri. But will he be able to get this fight to the ground and get a finish? I mean, it seems like the main question here is if Caceres can stay off his back and use that definitive striking advantage. What do you think?
That's exactly the whole question here. If he doesn't, if Kron Gracie doesn't get him to the ground, it will be a tough night probably for him. But Alex Caceres is vulnerable to get to the ground, in my opinion. We saw it against Jason Knight. We saw it against Uriah Faber. Uriah Faber is pretty high caliber, of course, but I think if a Jason Knight, which I think is a good fighter, but not a specialist in the ground particularly, if he can get him to the ground, Kron Gracie will definitely get him to the ground. And if Kron Gracie gets him to the ground, he will hold him there and he will probably finish him. And I think we will see it in the first round, probably by, let's say an armbar, probably. I really see Kron Gracie getting a good debut here. Do I like the odds? Like, what was it, -410, you said?
Yeah, -410 for the newcomer.
It's a little bit much, in my opinion. I mean, it's not like Alex Caceres is an easy fight for Kron Gracie right here, in my opinion. But yeah, I think Kron Gracie gets him to the ground. That's the major question, the main question you ask right off the bat. And yeah, we'll get him to the ground. Submission win first round for Kron Gracie. And I, I'm really curious what the UFC is going to do with Alex Caceres after that. I hope he gets another fight because I have really the feeling he's getting set up by the UFC here to take on Kron Gracie, that the UFC actually expects Kron Gracie to win as well here. So let's see what happens. That's what I think. I don't know if it's true. My opinion, just my opinion.
We'll see how it plays out. I mean, Caceres definitely has a definitive striking advantage, but I don't think he has the ability to stop Kron Gracie on the feet. He could have some success landing strikes, but he's not going to be able to put him away. And Gracie's going to get that submission, if not late in the first, early in the second, rear naked choke for the newcomer. All right, Big Marcel, I'm not going to lie. This next fight here is probably the one I am most excited about, and that is saying a lot on this card. Courtney Casey and Cynthia Calvillo, fight of the night candidate here too. Really good matchmaking, great matchup. Personally, I'm a big fan of both of these competitors. I mean, Courtney Casey is 3-4 in the UFC, but she has faced the best of the best. I mean, she absolutely comes to fight, brings it every time. And Calvillo has that go-getter mentality, too. Always looking for a submission, bringing that grit that's known from Team Alpha Male. She was ultra impressive last time out against Poliana Botello in a fight that she was being faded hard by the betting public because of her weight-cutting issues and the inactivity. Big Marcel, who gets this one done?
I actually want to hear your pick first here.
Okay, yeah,
You're
sure.
so intrigued about this one.
Yeah, I'm really excited. So, Casey, I think if she keeps it on the feet, she can get a decision victory here. But Cynthia Calvillo is one of the best grapplers in the strawweight division, no doubt about it. And I really think she's going to be able to get it to the ground, but I don't see her getting the finish. Calvillo, I think, is going to get the decision, but this is going to be a back and forth fight when it is on the feet. And this one goes the distance. So Cynthia Calvillo, a minus 265 favorite. Comeback on Casey is plus 225. Another line, I think, should be a lot closer. Calvillo gets a unanimous decision, but man, I could see this being a war on the feet.
Yeah, so if I think about Courtney Casey, I have to think against that Michelle Watterson fight, some crazy scrambles from her on the ground. And Calvillo, known as a good ground fighter, I think also her stand-up was pretty solid. Yeah, I have to. How do you say that? I have to say I'm right with you. I don't know how to say it. I'm sorry, guys. I'm going also with Calvillo here, probably by decision as well, for being probably too good on the ground, and will not finish, I think. But yeah, Calvillo decision. I agree with you.
Yeah, and looking forward to that one. And the fights just keep getting more exciting. We got lightweights on deck between Paul Felder and James Vick, rebooking from last year. Vick coming off that devastating knockout loss to Justin Gaethje. Felder coming off a loss to Mike Perry at welterweight. And Big Marcel, real close line on paper. Paul Felder, a minus 140 favorite. James Vick, the slight underdog at plus 120. What happens in this one?
That's also such a difficult fight to break down here. I think James Vick, he looked great, man, until he got cracked by Justin Gaethje in his last fight. And I was really high on him. I think he did amazing Trinaldo, Duffy. I mean, a great knockout win against Paulo Reyes before that one. He was on a 4-fight winning streak, and he got knocked out by Justin Gaethje. Paul Felder also on a good 3-fight winning streak, but then lost to Mike Perry in the welterweight division, now back at lightweight. Got a very big win against Charles Oliveira by TKO after being in a horrible submission position where many people would have tapped probably, but he didn't. Man, this is probably the one along with Sterling and Rivera I've thought about as long, but I'm still not 100% convinced in my pick here. But I'm really, it's really 50-50. I go with James Vick with a very slight advantage here. James Vick by, I'm not going to say split decision again, so by unanimous decision, but very, very close, and I'm not sure. Far from sure.
And Vic seems to win the fights I think he's gonna lose, and man, this is a really close fight to call. Two great camps here. Team Lloyd Irvin for James Vick, Paul Felder out of Rufus Sport, where it really seems to that move has improved his game a lot. You mentioned some of the fights, especially that Charles Oliveira finish. Felder, I think, gets the knockout in round 2. I think that he drops Vic and then is able to finish on the ground. But this could be another candidate for fight of the night. Could go either way. Great co-main event, that's for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, main event time. Back on ESPN, the UFC has a heavyweight showcase. Francis Ngannou taking on the former reigning, defending, undisputed UFC heavyweight champion, Cain Velasquez. Velasquez, a minus 220 favorite. Comeback on Ngannou, plus 180. Almost 3 years removed from Cain Velasquez's last fight. He is the former champion, finally returning to the UFC. Not an easy feat, though, in his welcome back fight. I mean, they give him perhaps the most powerful guy on the roster in Ngannou, coming off arguably his biggest UFC career win to date over Curtis Blades, that first-round finish in China. Man, a close fight indeed here. Big Marcel, what happens? Who gets it done here? Do we have an emergence of a new heavyweight title contender? Give the people the breakdown.
First, I want to point out that it's Velasquez who will be the main event on the first ESPN card, and he was also the main event on the first Fox card.
And what happened in that fight?
Yeah, but that's not going to happen in this fight.
Okay.
I think Cain Velasquez only has to. This is pretty much a breakdown. He only has to watch out in the first 3-4 minutes for the big knockout. What Francis Ngannou is going to try. Ngannou said he has trained a lot on his skills, on his ground game, and all that. But it's very difficult to learn such a thing in such a short of time against a guy who has crazy wrestling credentials, collegiate wrestling, former champion. I think Cain, despite the 2.5-year, 3-year layoff, I see him getting this done, man. And if it's not by a finish, it's by a unanimous decision. But I think he will finish Ngannou probably in the 3rd round by TKO. And he will be completely back. And after that, probably DC goes back to light heavyweight. Or Cain goes to light heavyweight, but I don't see that happening. But yeah, Cain will run for a title again in 2019 if he stays healthy.
Cain Velasquez at light heavyweight. Talk about a hot take here on the breakdown. But good analysis. I am excited to see Cain Velasquez back.
Me too.
And I'm just having eerily similar flashbacks to 2011 when the Cain Velasquez Junior Dos Santos 1 fight headlined the UFC on Fox, and Junior Dos Santos landing that huge right hand behind the ear that put Velasquez down in the finish in the 1st round. Ngannou, he knows what he has to do. He has to stay off his back, and he needs to headhunt like he did against Curtis Blades. And, man, just knowing that Velasquez, yes, one of the best heavyweights in the world, think he can compete with anyone in the division, but just the fight itself, the stage, the situation, being that Cormier is the heavyweight champion now, man, I'm just everything I'm visualizing is Ngannou getting it done in the 1st round via TKO.
I'm shocked.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, he has to stay off his back, but that man has power. He showed it against Curtis Blades. He can land one punch, and it's a difference maker. So I'm going to take the upset. Francis Ngannou via 1st round TKO, and once again, Cain Velasquez comes up short in the UFC's premiere on a network.
You heard it here first, people. So, Max said it. You already
Well, appreciate the vote of confidence there. Did you do a Twitter poll on that fight too?
No, but I can do. There's no problem. I'm really intrigued what the people are going to say. So, yeah, Let's do that later tonight. No problem.
Okay. Keep an eye out at Big Marcel 24 on Twitter. Check out that poll. We want to hear what you have to think. Who's going to win in the main event of UFC Phoenix? Now, we got bonuses to hand out this week. And Big Marcel, I will start with you. Who are the two performance of the night bonuses?
Performance of the night goes to Cain Velasquez and to Kron Gracie.
Interesting. Okay, and the fight of the night, you still want to go with Manny Bermudez and Benito Lopez.
Yes.
All right. All right, performance of the night, bonuses for me, main event and co-main event. Francis Ngannou and Paul Felder getting it done on my front. And then the fight of the night, man, so many candidates on this card, but the one that I just can't seem to get out of my head is Courtney Casey, Cynthia Calvillo. Yes, the women's strawweights are going to outshine everyone on this card and get that fight of the night bonus, that 50 G's. All right. One underdog for you, Big Marcel. Who gets it done as a betting underdog?
I'm thinking about or Luke Sanders or Brian Barberina, but then I'm going with the pick I'm most confident in, and I think I'm going with Luke Sanders here.
I couldn't even hear you. Who would you go with?
I was
Luke Sanders? Is that?
Yeah.
No, Luke Sanders is a betting favorite. Yeah, he's minus 200 favorite.
Then I misunderstood. I'm sorry. Was Emily Whitmire is an
Emily Whitmire is a plus 165 underdog.
Yeah, I go with her.
Okay. For my underdog pick, man, this was tough. Emily Whitmire was my first instinct, but I'm going to go with the veteran Nick Lentz, the plus 165 underdog, kicking off the ESPN prelims here. So just to recap, back and forth for our picks, the main event, I'm calling the upset, Francis Ngannou. My co-host has the former champ Velasquez. We also have a difference in opinion on the co-main event. I'm going with the favorite Felder. Big Marcel's got James Vick. We're both taking Cynthia Calvillo, both taking Kron Gracie. The welterweight showcase between Vicente Luque and Brian Barberina is split. I have Luque. Marcel has Brian Barberina. We're also split on the featherweight showcase between Jury and Feely. He's got Andre Feely. I got the Alliance MMA's Miles Jury. We're both in alignment on Jimmy Rivera over Aljamain Sterling and Manny Bermudez over Benito Lopez, as well as Andrea KGB Lee over Ashley Evans Smith. Another difference, though, at lightweight, Big Marcel's got Scott Hot Sauce Holtzman. I'm taking Nick Lentz. Nick Lentz is also my underdog pick for the evening. In the featured prelim on ESPN Plus, Big Marcel going with Jessica Penny to get it done in her UFC return. I'm going to take the lady of Caveman Coffee, Jody Esquibel. Meanwhile, we have another difference in the bantamweights as Big Marcel's going Luke Sanders, the favorite. I got the former champ Henan Barao, and kicking off the evening with Emily Whitmire getting it done. We are both aligned there. So a lot of differences, that's for sure.
Definitely, man.
Recapping the bonuses, Big Marcel's got Bermudez and Benito Lopez fight of the night. I'm going with Cynthia Calvillo, Courtney Casey, strawweight showcase. Performance of the night bonuses. Big Marcel's handing them out to Cain Velasquez, banking on him getting it done in his UFC day return. Meanwhile, Kron Gracie getting a big finish in his UFC debut. I'm going to go with the main event and co-main event, Paul Felder and Francis Ngannou. And just one last reminder, our underdog picks for the evening are Emily Whitmire for Big Marcel and Nick Lentz for myself. Man, that was a lot. Sorry if everyone was not able to catch that. A recommendation from one of our great podcast leaders, Keith Schillen, just to get a recap of all the picks towards the end of the show, just so people don't have to go back and listen to all of us blab about 12 different fights here. Big Marcel, any closing thoughts or feedback on this card or anything in relation to the UFC?
No. And for Keith, dude, just watch the whole podcast. Just not fast forward to the last part to a breakdown or our picks. I mean, it's not that's not what it's supposed to be, right? I'm just kidding,
Keith.
like Keith always does as well. So.
Yeah, our great leaders, him and Kyle Steele, really thank them for all the great work they've done with the LoudMouth MMA podcast network. Reminder, everyone to check that out. iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher, Spotify, SoundCloud, wherever you get your podcasts. Big Marcel, before we sign out, where can the people find and follow you?
You can find me on MMA DNA,
Oh,
MMA
cool.
DNA Twitter, MMA DNA Facebook, and my own Twitter handle and Instagram handle, BigMarcel24. Use Instagram for mostly UFC updates on fights, and Twitter, like almost everything. So yeah, that's
Yeah, and
basically
for those MMA fans out there, you will not regret it if you follow Big Marcel 24. I mean, some of the best content out there, ranging not just the UFC, but some of the smaller regional shows all across Europe, Asia, wherever it has you. If you're a true fan of the sport, you want to follow Big Marcel. He's the best account out there.
Thanks, brother. I really appreciate it. And I always reply to almost everyone. So
Yeah.
just reach out, let me know, and you'll get a reply. No problem. And I love to interact with everybody. So
Yeah. Well, the community thanks you for your gracious willingness and interactions there. You can find me on Twitter at Trademark MMA. Content goes to Cage Side Press and the Body Lock. Looking forward to this card on ESPN on Saturday or Sunday night. Keep in mind it's the Sunday card from the Talking Stick Arena in Phoenix, Arizona. Enjoy the fights, everybody. We'll catch you next week.